Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. It can be assumed that we're getting closer and closer to Total War Warhammer 3, so I'd like to dedicate a few videos to the possible legendary lords or legendary heroes that we might see. And since the recent teaser kinda hinted at Khorne, I want to go over some Khornite based characters, with today's video being focused on SKARBRAND. So we're going to discuss his lore, his rules on the tabletop, and how he could be implemented into Total War Warhammer. To better introduce this character to those not aware of him, we'll read over his entry into the Warhammer Fantasy Battles 8th edition army book for the Demons of Chaos. SKARBRAND, the Exiled One, Wrathful Reaper and Drinker of Blood. The bloodthirster SKARBRAND was once the greatest of all Khorne's demons. An eternity of battle in the blood god's name had brought SKARBRAND victories uncounted. It was he who tore down the gates of Slaanesh's first palace and visited ruin therein. It was he who led the 8 hosts of murder to their triumph over the combined armies of other Chaos gods. In all the endless years of Khorne's existence, no other had piled so many skulls before the Skull Throne, or spilled the blood of so many warriors and innocents alike. Thus did SKARBRAND enjoy Khorne's favour like no other. Alas, so proud was SKARBRAND that it was a simple task for Tzeentch to fan the embers of his hubris. One dark day, when Khorne's back was turned and his attention elsewhere, SKARBRAND's fierce pride grew hot, and, blinded by rage, he smote the blood god a mighty blow. Powerful beyond measure was SKARBRAND, and he had toppled cities with but one blow apiece, but even he could not pierce Khorne's brazen armour. Only the smallest of chinks was cut into the blood god's armour, but even this was sufficient to draw the terrible fury of Khorne's gaze. Incandescent with wrath, Khorne seized the demon by the throat. The blood god cursed SKARBRAND's name and choked all personality from him, leaving only the bottomless rage that caused him to attack. Climbing the uppermost tower of the brass citadel, Khorne cast forth his arm and hurled the demon deep into the realms of chaos, banishing the bloodthirster from his presence. For 8 days and nights SKARBRAND plummeted, a fiery comet of ill omen streaking across the unchanging sky. The impact of the bloodthirster's landing gorged the canyon in the landscape and left his wings torn and tattered. Since that fateful day, SKARBRAND has wandered the mortal and immortal realms, drowning his sins in the blood of the slain, though he no longer has the wit to fully understand why. Frozen in the moment of that rage-spurred betrayal, SKARBRAND has become wrath incarnate, a restless fury that cannot be stopped. Wherever SKARBRAND trends, order and discipline are replaced with anarchy, as those in his path drown in feelings of empty loathing and unrestrained savagery. Even the most rational of beings cannot resist the corruption of SKARBRAND's madness. Fast friends and firm allies tear at one another with wild abandon. Craven and brave beings alike claw at their foes without regard for their own lives. Through this anarchy, SKARBRAND runs rampant, twin axes hacking and cleaving until there is no one left to kill. His tortured roars echo around the battlefield, waves of pure rage infused with enough force to shatter buildings and pulverize flesh. In all of history, there have been none to serve the Lord of Skulls as completely as SKARBRAND. He has taken mountains and mountains of skulls for the blood god, and filled vast oceans with gore. He has shaken the foundations of eternity with his wrath, and left a trail of slaughter across existence. Yet still, Khorne refuses to rescind his hated decree. There is little regret in the blood god's black heart, and he spares none for SKARBRAND, who in tortured exile serves the Lord of Skulls more completely than ever. SKARBRAND is an interesting character because he is a being of pure rage. Unlike other Khorne demons who can formulate tactics and plans, SKARBRAND just wants warfare straight head on. Yes, you might think that Khorne is all about warfare, but there is tactics and honor in combat, whereas SKARBRAND does not really use that. That being said, there is no loss of honor if all you do is charge in like a rampaging bull, which is pretty much the best way to describe SKARBRAND. On the tabletop, SKARBRAND was a melee-based character, but then again, that's really all Khorne demons. Though his stats were quite powerful: extremely high weapon skill, high strength, high toughness, high wounds, and high value of attacks. This was a character which was very much geared to just charge into combat. In regards to generic special rules, he was of course demonic, which worked in an identical way to the unstable mechanic for the vampires. He also had frenzy and terror, and lastly had magic resistance, all of which have been translated into Total War Warhammer. In regards to more unique rules and items, first we have Bellow of Endless Fury, which was a breath weapon. A decent one at that, which had strength 5. Translated into Total War Warhammer, it basically did quite a lot of damage. I'm assuming that this will get implemented into Total War Warhammer should this character ever be released, and it would probably have maybe 1 or 2 uses as a bound spell. Another special rule is that of Rage Embodied, which goes as follows. SKARBRAND can never lose his frenzy. In addition, while SKARBRAND is alive, all units on the table, friend and enemy, are subject to the rules for hatred. So how this would be translated into Total War Warhammer could be a little bit different. Obviously there are no rules for hatred in Total War, so instead it could be worked into his faction trait, where all Khornite-based demons in his army could do a bit more damage. Or it could work in a very similar way to the rule, where everything on the battle map would do more damage but would have less defense. Maybe something like that would be a bit more interesting, where both forces, friend and foe, would be doing much more damage, but also take much more damage too. It would be an interesting interpretation of his lore. Finally, we have his demonic gifts, Slaughter and Carnage. These are his magic weapons, which are paired weapons. He obviously dual wields 2 giant axes. The benefit these weapons gave him is that the enemy would not be able to take armor saves against attacks made with these weapons. He didn't really have a lot of special rules, but then again a lot of named demons didn't, purely because there were just so many of them. That being said, how could he be implemented into Total War Warhammer? Well, honestly, I believe that if the Demons of Chaos do get implemented as a base game race, which in all honesty is looking quite likely, then I'm assuming that he's a very strong contender for a Khorne-based faction. I'm very much hoping that we'll see 4 factions launch for the Chaos Demons, 1 per Chaos God. This isn't a mono-god or divided thing, I'd just like to see 4 factions. I'd say SKARBRAND is a very strong contender. He is easily one of the most recognizable demons in Khorne's armies. In terms of faction effects, I think he'd have the following. Firstly, a reduction of upkeep to all Khorne-based demons, but with an increase of upkeep for demons of any other god. Though this is a mechanic that I'm hoping gets implemented for every respective Chaos God, where you'll pay less for yours, but pay more for other units. It could be rather interesting if SKARBRAND was completely locked out of diplomatic relations. Seeing as SKARBRAND is treated as a completely mindless beast, if he's leading a faction, well, maybe he shouldn't be able to do any diplomacy. Even with other Chaos factions dedicated to Khorne, it just kinda makes sense. Yes, this would mean that this would be a tougher playthrough for this specific faction, but it does make a lot of sense lore-wise if SKARBRAND is leading armies but cannot get into a non-aggression pact, defensive alliance, or even military alliance with any other faction. His campaign could be centered around trying to win Khorne's favor again, which obviously would be to no avail, but could be an interesting theme. Personally, I've always liked SKARBRAND, and I think he would be a fine addition as a base game legendary lord. But what do you guys think about this character, and how do you guys think that he would be implemented? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's start a bit of a discussion. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince, and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VSVasan, Aaron Whitman, and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing, and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel's been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.